Welcome back to our series about Doyon. Today we're going to talk about our share structure. So that's each of our classes of shares that our shareholders own. As we said in the original video, there were 9,061 original shareholders back in 1972. Now they were divided into two classes back then, Class A and Class B. So Class A shares were Doyon shareholders that resided in one of our village communities or had ties to one of our villages who were also enrolled to a Doyon region village. And that was the majority of our original shareholders. But we also had Class B shareholders, and those that were shareholders who were a quarter Alaska Native and either residing in or had ties to the Doyon region, but were not enrolled to our Doyon area villages. So sometimes we refer to those shareholders as at-large shareholders. Now, fast forward a few years, and ANCSA did not anticipate enrolling more shareholders. The original act did not provide for a corporation to issue more shares and enroll descendants. This was a big issue among the Alaska Native community and at Doyon specifically. So the 1991 amendments, they were called that, they actually passed around 1991, made a change in ANCSA that allowed regional and village corporations to issue new shares to descendants. Doyon was one of the very first corporations that did that. Right in 1992, the Doyon board asked the shareholders to amend our Articles of Incorporation, create a new class of shares, and issue them to descendants. So that's our Class C shareholders. Those are our largest group of shareholders now. So those are our generally younger shareholders. They still have to be a quarter Alaska Native, and they have to be a lineal descendant of an original, so Class A or Class B shareholder. I'm a Class C shareholder, for example. I received my shares in 1992 because I wasn't born in 1971, which was the cutoff date for issuance of new shares. We also have two other classes of stock. One is Class D stock. So that was for people who were eligible in 1971 but missed enrollment largely because they were serving in the military overseas and technology wasn't quite as good in the 1970s as it is now. So we had a hard time tracking down all of our eligible original shareholders. So that's a pretty small category of stock. Finally, we have Class E. We call those our elder shares. So that was also a class of shares authorized by the 1991 amendments, and Doyon chose to create that class of stock. Those are for original shareholders. When they turn 65, they receive another 100 shares of Doyon stock. They're not voting stock, but they do receive the financial benefits of basically a double dividend for a 100-share shareholder. So that's how we got to 5 classes of stock. Now, the original 1992 vote was a one-time only backwards-looking enrollment. So if you were born between 1971 and 1992, you were eligible under that change in our articles. Now, I was at Doyon in 2006 when our board revisited the topic of enrollment. And at that time, the question was, do we do a perpetual enrollment of Class C descendants of Doyon shareholders? So we had a big campaign in the 2007 board meeting and annual election of our shareholders. And the proposed change passed. So now we have a perpetual enrollment of those who are still a quarter Alaska Native and lineal descendants. So that's how we grew from 9,061 original shareholders, Class A and B, and now we have a little over 20,000 shareholders. And again, our Class C component is our biggest component of shareholders.